Hello, I'm Kelsey, a misfit with a passion for crafting and creating. Welcome back, crafty friends. This is part 2 of my Barbie Halloween Boutique makeover. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, be sure to check it out so you're all caught up. Last time, I gave some old Barbie furniture a spooky new look, but this project isn't finished yet. In this video, I'll be wrapping up the Halloween candy, costumes, and decorations. And of course, ending it with a final reveal of the shop in all its spooky glory. So, let's get back to it. Now, let's move on to the candy fixture, specifically the top 4 cubbies. Each cubby will hold a different Halloween-themed candy. I wanted the candy to be simple to mold and easy to design packaging for. The first candy idea I came up with were sour strips, which I themed around zombies. For the packaging, I knew I wanted a zombie hand holding the candy strips. So, I grabbed an image of a zombie hand and some green sour candy strips, dropped them into Photoshop, and edited them together so it looked like the candy was hanging around the zombie's thumb. Then I moved over to Illustrator to finish the package design. I designed all my candy bags to have a little cutout window in the front so the candy peeks through. After a bit of playing around, I ended up with the packaging for Zombie Chews sour apple strips. Next up, gumdrops shaped like ghosts. I started with the packaging again. I added white little gumdrops with ghosty eyes to the front of the packaging. The third candy idea was a chocolate bar shaped like a coffin, which I named Coffin Crunch. The package design is a coffin-shaped sleeve that a foiled wrapped chocolate bar will slide into, kind of like an old school Hershey's bar, but spookier. Finally, I wanted a candy that was just simple round flat pieces in orange and purple. That's how I came up with Witch Wafers, mini wafer cookies covered in orange and purple chocolate. I designed the package off camera, but as you can see, it came out spooky cute like the others did. And that's all 4 of the Halloween candy package designs done. I printed the candy packages and cut them out with my silhouette machine. To create the peekaboo windows, I glued each package onto a clear cellophane sheet. Then I folded the sides in, glued the bottom closed, and taped up the back, and left the top open for filling. The coffin packages were a little different. I just folded the sides and glued the 2 ends together to form the sleeve. Now it's time to make the actual candy pieces that will go inside of the packages. I started with the Zombie Chew candy strips. For these, I used some clear vinyl fabric I had left over from a project I never actually made. I cut it into a 1-inch strip and colored one side with a green paint marker. Once that dried, I brushed on a layer of glue, sprinkled fine white glitter over it, and dusted off the excess. The glitter ended up looking a little too sparkly to pass as sour dust, but I didn't feel like remaking them, so I just rolled with it. Then I cut the strips down into smaller candy-sized pieces. Next were the witch wafers. They were pretty straightforward. I rolled out oven-baked clay and used a paper eyelet as a tiny cookie cutter to cut out round shapes. I made both orange and purple wafers, baked them, and they were good to go. For the gumdrop ghost, I rolled white translucent clay into little worms, then snipped off the rounded tips since they naturally looked like little ghost shapes. After baking them, I added tiny black eyes with a pen to finish the effect. Finally, I made the coffin crunch bars. I shaped oven-baked clay into coffins and added indented lines to look like chocolate bar squares and baked them. Since I didn't have brown clay, I painted them after baking. Once dry, I wrapped each bar in aluminum foil and slid them into their coffin-shaped sleeves. With all the candies made, it's time to package them up. I filled the Zombie Chew bags with strips until it looked full, then sealed the top shut. I stuffed as many witch wafers and gumdrop ghosts as I could into their packages and sealed them as well. To finish everything off, I made tiny display boxes for the candy, similar to the ones I built for the mini skulls, snakes, bats, and spiders. Now, all my Halloween treats have a place to sit on their shelves. Now onto the bottom 4 cubbies of the candy fixture. For these shelves, I wanted bigger bags of candy. 2 of the cubbies will hold mixes of trick-or-treat candy bags that I'm calling Monster Munch, and the other 2 will hold bags of classic candy corn. I started with the candy corn. To make them, I layered oven-baked clay into the traditional colors, yellow on the bottom, orange in the middle, and white on the top. Then I pressed the clay thinner and thinner until I could slice into tiny triangles, giving the perfect candy corn shape. Because I was cutting back and forth along the strip, some of the pieces ended up with the colors in the wrong order, white on the bottom and yellow at the tips. I set those aside for the Monster Munch bags so that all the official candy corn bags had perfectly layered pieces. For the Monster Munch mix, I rolled some small clay balls into different colors, tossed in the miscut candy corn, and added a few leftover witch wafer pieces, and even mixed in some mini suckers I had bought. Once the candies were ready, I designed simple labels for both bags in Illustrator. The bags themselves I made from clear cellophane sheets, folding them like mini brown paper lunch sacks. With one end taped shut, I filled each bag with candy, folded the top closed, and sealed it with tape. The last step was adding the labels, and just like that, the candies were finished and ready to stock on their shelves. You might be wondering what I'm going to put on those tiny cubbies on the candy fixture, and the answer is nothing. It's just too small to be useful, so instead I'm going to cover it up with a store sales sign. The last thing for this section is adding some trick-or-treat bags above the fixture on the wall. I picked up some mini versions of the classic jack-o'-lantern buckets you see every year, along with some cute little cauldron buckets too. I believe that officially wraps up all the items for this section of the store. Now onto the costume fixtures. I wanted to make some classic Halloween costumes like ghosts and witches. To make the sewing easier, I decided to use felt for everything. So I didn't have to hem any of the edges, which honestly feels fitting since a lot of real Halloween costumes are made pretty cheaply too. The first costume I made was a jack-o'-lantern. I cut out 6 petal-like pieces of orange felt and sewed them together to form a pumpkin shape, leaving holes at the top and bottom so Barbie can slip inside. I added straps to hold it up and finished it off by gluing black felt face details on the front. Next up was the ghost costume. I cut 2 simple ghost shapes from white felt, sewed them together, and left openings for Barbie's arms and at the bottom. I gave it long sleeves to cover up her arms and glued on big black eyes to finish the look. Then came the skeleton. Most skeleton costumes I've seen are just onesies with a printed skeleton design on them, so that's what I tried to make. I cut gingerbread men shaped pieces of felt. Well, actually in half, since my felt sheets were way too small. Sewed the sides together and left the front seam open so Barbie can get in and out. Then I ironed on a full skeleton design I cut from heat transfer vinyl. I also made a witch costume and devil costume off camera, mostly to save time since this video was already getting too long. And speaking of costumes, I also happen to have a Care Bear Barbie costume. I didn't buy it because I'm a Care Bear fan, but because the doll that came with it has bendable knees.
Rant alert! Rant alert!
Sorry, but quick detour here. Why don't more Barbies these days have bendable knees? Or elbows for that matter? When I was a kid, Barbies at least had those snappy bendy knees. But some Barbies these days don't even bend at all. Now, I know they make dolls with jointed knees, but not all of them, and for some reason it's always the full playsets that come with a stiff doll. Why can't they just make all Barbies bendable? It drives me nuts that you basically have to buy a specialty Barbie just to get bendable joints, or Barbie ends up looking stupid sitting with stiff legs sticking straight out. Ugh. Anyway, that's basically why I bought a Care Bear Barbie. Rant over, let's get back to the crafting. So my original plan was to fold the costumes up into little packages and hang them on those frame backs, just like you'd see in a Halloween store. But I didn't think about how thick the costumes would be once folded. Compared to Barbie, they're basically the size of a packaged comforter for us. Way too bulky to display that way. So I had to rethink my plan. The best solution I could come up with was to make a little clothing rack. I built this one out of popsicle sticks and kebab skewers, and it works perfectly for hanging the costumes. If you want me to go into more depth about how I built this, or other off-camera parts of this video, just leave a comment below. The last part of the costume section is the props. At first, my plan was to display them on one of the frame backs, but of course, I ended up scrapping that idea. Instead, I'll hang the props directly on the wall. This section will include things like a witch's hat and broom, devil horns and a pitchfork, and other classic props like hats. Now let's move to the middle of the store, where the display tables will be. These tables will feature some of the decor I've already made, but I also needed to create a few more Halloween pieces to fill them out. One of the first things I thought of was when I found these little arched, rainbow-shaped drawer knobs. I removed the screws from the back and painted them in different tones of gray to turn them into gloomy little rainbows. Next, I made some ghost stands, kind of like the shrink-a-dink decor I made earlier. I cut off the ends of wide popsicle sticks so I could use the curved edge as the top of the ghost heads. I made 2 different sized ghosts, painted them white, layered the smaller one slightly over the taller one. After drawing faces on them, I glued them onto wooden stands I stained. I also thought it would be fun to add some spooky floral stems to the tables. I dug through my floral stash to find a few pieces to work with. These greenery with little buds, these tall grass-like stems, and these flowers that I took the petals off of so it looked like a little creepy plant. I painted the buds gray, added gray tips to the grass blades for a kinda wilting effect, and painted the stems of the flowers brown with gray tops to make them look eerie. To go with the cauldrons I made earlier, I pulled apart cotton balls, painted them green, and tucked them inside so they looked like bubbling potion foam. I even added bones I cut off from a mini skeleton I bought. The last pieces I made were framed Halloween art. I went on Canva and picked some Halloween clip art I liked and turned them into framed wall art. Not all of them will go on the tables. I decided to also make a framed art section on the wall to the right of the decor fixture. In Illustrator, I created simple framed templates to cut out in black paper. I cut 4 layers for each frame so they'd be thicker. Once I printed the artwork, I glued the frames on top. And to round everything out, I picked up some miniature Halloween decorations I found. Tiny tombstones, candelabras, and mini skeletons to sprinkle across the table display. The last area to cover is the checkout counter. Most of the shelves here will be filled with items I've already made, like decor and candy, but I also found these colorful skeleton straw covers that I thought would make cute decorations. I'm planning to place them on each end of the shelves, and all I had to do to prep them was to snip off this tether piece. Luckily, I still have the cash register that came with this set, so that will sit right on top covering the old hole. On the other side of the counter, I'll display some jars of candy. And with that, the checkout counter is complete. To really make this shop feel like a Halloween boutique, I needed signage. First, I made a store banner to hang above the decor fixture. I'm naming the shop Boutique and Beyond. Then I created a sales sign to cover the black space where the old ice machine sign used to be. plus a long sign to hide the tiny cubbies on the candy fixture I mentioned earlier. I also designed signs for the costume section and some for the sides of the checkout counter. And a few extra generic ones to place around the store. After printing and cutting them, I stuck each sign where I wanted them to go. And with that, it's time to start setting up and stocking the shelves of my little Halloween boutique! Off camera, I also built the store walls out of cardboard, painted them gray, added wall fixtures, and decorated them with Halloween silhouette stickers to really pull the theme together. And I can't believe I'm finally finished! This project definitely took me longer than I expected. 3 weeks to be exact. But I had so much fun creating it along the way. And now it's time for the final reveal! I'm so happy with how my little boutique turned out. It's so stinking cute. I think my favorite part was building the candy, but honestly, I enjoyed every step of building this shop. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires some of you to take your old toys and flip them into something new. And if for some reason you haven't seen part 1, check it out as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't want to miss future projects. Until next time, happy Halloween!